Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and I'm going to open this video with a bit of a riddle, a little bit of a brain teaser here for you. What happens when you hold a giant Mythic championship tournament and hype it up, and then invite a known cheater to it? Cheating! Well, I'd like to introduce to you everybody, Márcio Carvalho. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation because I don't know what country that flag is. Yeah, leave your angry comment down below. So I was joking before when I said I'm introducing him. Of course you know him. He's famous for doing a Carvalho. Is that what they call it? Typical Carvalho shadiness. Basically just being a cheating dick. So he does shady, sketchy, suspicious stuff all the time. I'm not sure if he's ever actually been banned for any of it, but I mean, getting caught by the community or having another player call you out or getting fully banned by the DCI, at this point, if it becomes a pattern, it's almost the same damn thing. I mean, I like evidence as much as the next person, but this is another example where it's complete plausible deniability. Maybe he made a mistake, except a pattern is forming and everybody knows about him. So he's a huge, long-time, famous public figure in the Magic community. Yes, I'm only saying that for when he files a privacy complaint against this video. It's true, though, just as true as him signing an agreement that says his name and face can be used by the media if he participates in this event. So you can privacy claim these nuts. Anyway, before I even roll this clip, I have to throw up Cry of the Carnarium because it's very important that you understand exactly how this card works. So it's a sorcery, 3-cost, all creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Exile all creature cards in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. If a creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So at resolution time, all creatures get -2/-2, cool. And then it only affects creatures that are out on the board at that time, of course. Then after that, exile all creature cards in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Like, at all this turn, anytime this turn. That is completely retroactive to the very first phase of this turn. Then the third part is interesting because it's what they call a delayed ability or delayed trigger or something like that. It's a replacement effect that goes onto a delayed trigger that's triggered based on an action, but it stops being a delayed trigger at the end of turn. I believe that's the best way to phrase it. Oh, and I mean the actual end of turn, not the beginning of the phase called end of turn. So the first part is instant, the second part is retroactive, and the third part is ongoing into the future. Keep that in mind. All right, roll that crap. So he's got Dauntless Bodyguard out, and he's specifying that's the one I was targeting. So those are that's the one with the indestructible potential ability. And boom, Cry the Carnarium. Goodbye. So it would appear he sacrifices it because he points at it and makes it indestructible until end of turn. Doesn't matter. It's a -2 sweeper. Everything dies, and then he puts it in his graveyard. That's what's wrong with this. That's not what you should do. So what happens is Cry the Carnarium goes on the stack, and then at instant speed in response, so it'll resolve first, Dauntless's ability is activated, he is sacrificed and moved to the graveyard, then this resolves. The problem is, the middle part says, exile all creature cards in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn, as in, from any source at any time during any phase. So he should have removed Dauntless from his graveyard and put it into exile. So the question is, did he think that he was being all clever and hiding it in the graveyard before this resolves because he thought that the exile trigger was only creatures that got hit by the first ability? I would be very inclined to say yes if he didn't have a giant history of cheating. That's why, once again, plausible deniability. He could just say, oh, I didn't know, I made a mistake, I thought that's how the spell worked, why didn't my opponent say? And now that goes off too. Like, okay, resolve the -2 part, cool. Resolve the second part, now take the Dauntless and put it into exile. Like, you shouldn't have to handhold the person, but it's your spell and it's your deck. If he legitimately didn't know how this spell worked, then it kind of sort of is up to his opponent to say, well, now this happens, so do this. So there's a little bit more to this. Watch what happens next. So first he switches his cards around a bunch because that's what real pros do. I assume it's because a lot of them are illegally on Adderall. Then he brings out History Benalia, brings out the token, cool, puts the Saga counter on there, and then he swishes his cards around some more just in case his opponent wasn't annoyed by it enough. And then -2s his Ajani and resurrects from the graveyard Dauntless and drops the protection on the token. Now that token's not that important, that's the thing, but I mean, maybe he could try to cast down on it. I mean, I don't know what's in his deck, and I don't know if Marcio knows what's in his deck. A lot of these alleged pros have whole teams of spies where they spy on each other's decks and illegally pass information to each other between rounds. And it's so common they have a name for it, it's called scouting. But awfully hard to get a team together at Mythic Championship 1, which was mostly like invite only and not a team thing. So he might have just been generally saying, okay, 2 more damage on the field and I get to protect the token just in case. And remember, if Dauntless wasn't in the graveyard and he wasn't able to bring it back, Ajani would have had to uptick with his plus ability and drop a counter on only 1 of 2 creatures instead of 2. Although I will say I don't know what card that is under it. So if that's a creature, he could have brought that back as well. I can't believe I can't tell what that is. I mean, it looks like Fencing Ace, but that hasn't been legal in a while. Really good card, by the way. Fantastic card. So there was an enormous advantage, especially this early in the game, to having Dauntless go to the graveyard instead. So like I said before, did he think he was just being clever and avoiding the spell and putting it into the graveyard instead of exile by sacrificing it before the spell went off? Normally, I'd say yes, that sounds perfectly reasonable. I mean, you'd almost have to read through the spell twice and say, oh, that's okay, I get it. Yeah, it's retroactive, whoops. But based on his history of being called out for shady practices and cheating and other stuff, I'm going to have to side with no, he absolutely knew what he was doing. Or bare minimum, he put it there and was waiting for direct orders from his opponent to move it to exile. That never came, so he's just like, oops, I guess we both forgot. Oh, and speaking of that, hey, Ikawa, maybe you should learn how your own damn spells work. You should have caught that. In fact, the phrase you should have caught that applies to just about every cheater that's been caught in the last 2 years. Why the hell did his opponent not catch this? There's no excuse for that. Learn how your spells work and what they do. Absolutely pathetic. The only defense against that is that Carvalho was hiding his graveyard behind the library, which, if you're on camera, there's a policy that states that you can't do that, if I'm not mistaken. It's really roundabout, it's very unspecific, but I'm pretty sure it has to be in view of your opponent. And then I believe it says like the exile pile needs to be at least 90 degrees different and distinctly noticeable. I don't know, they changed it really recently, but I'm pretty sure hiding your graveyard behind your library isn't legal. So okay, did he go into the tournament with intent to cheat? Well, I did a little bit of digging, and he was disqualified twice and banned once for 6 months for, one was peeking at cards by, flipping up multiple or whatever, which I do that accidentally all the time, so hey. And then another one, intentionally presenting an illegal deck. And remember, the word intentionally is added by the DCI and by the head judge after the investigation. So intentionally means he did it on purpose. So does he have a history of going into tournaments with the intent to cheat, premeditated ahead of time? Yes. Is it hearsay or did he actually get caught and banned for it? He actually got caught and banned and there was an investigation and everything. This is not just player, whispering to other player, oh, did you hear he maybe did this? So did he go into this tournament with intent to cheat? Absolutely, in my opinion, and somebody else on Reddit pointed this out too. I caught it right away, but they filled in the details, so the fact that we both spotted this within about a second really indicates how well known this is. He's violating the Chris Marples rule. The only cards in his entire deck, as far as we can tell from watching the gameplay, that are foil are Legion's Landing and lands that produce blue. That's it. Those are the only foils in his entire deck. Now, foils weigh a different amount. They shuffle differently. They feel differently. They're heavier. They conduct electricity. They conduct static differently. They stick to other cards in certain static generating sleeves in low humidity differently. And way back at GP Denver a million years ago, Mr. Marples was disqualified for basically like feeling the top card of his deck, constantly adjusting his library. Well, a bit of a history tangent, but at the end of the day, he was using the fact that the cards were foiled to identify if the next card was a marked card. So basically, they were marked cards. He was DQ'd for it. So everybody knows, do not go to a Grand Prix Pro Tour or Mythic Championship or whatever, anywhere, with a distinct pattern of foil cards in your deck. In fact, most people go as far as don't go to a tournament with foils in your deck, period. Oh, and fun little fact, the only way to get Nexus is in foil. And it's the number 1 card you would want to know is on the top of your deck. And they curl, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. So yes, a judge, if it's sufficiently curled, will inspect your deck and say, we're replacing this with just a Sharpie job, proxy, basically, just an on-the-fly proxy. That's right, Wizards of the Coast is selling cards that are unplayable and illegal at the tournament level, which is why they are not legally allowed by their own legal team, this is a rumor, to mention anything about card quality, because as soon as they confirm the fact that they are selling you products that don't work for what they said or implied they are for, which is playing the game of Magic while following the rules, they are going to get sued to oblivion. That's right, if they say, hey, buy these and play our game, oh wait, some of the product that we just sold you is in too damaged of condition to play our game, that's an open and shut case. They would lose that every day of the week. So any pro playing with literally foils in their deck at all is basically cheating, and then you can prove it and a judge is going to DQ them pretty much anytime somebody complains about it if there is a pattern. I mean, if you've got 3 foils in your deck, all 3 of them are different cards and they have nothing to do with each other, you probably shouldn't have done it, and they're probably going to get proxied if they are bending at all. But if you're into Carvalho shadiness, you'll make it just Sources of Blue and Legion's Landing. And that's it, which Legion's Landing is crazy expensive already. Why the hell would you buy foils? And if you open enough to get the foils, or you're willing to drop money on foils, why is the rest of your deck not foil? Plus, the rest of it is the land base, just the blue sources. Why would you take the most expensive part of your deck and foil out just that and nothing else? Because you're cheating, that's why. So literally, at the same event with the same deck, he apparently was trying to pull off the Marples cheat. So with all that in mind, when I say that this simple little technical mistake of misunderstanding how the opponent's spell works when even his opponent didn't catch it wasn't a mistake, I have to lean towards no, and honestly, even if it's yes, he should be DQ'd for his use of foils. That's my final ruling, so in the coming days, will he come out on social media and say, oh no, it was a mistake, I didn't know the spell worked that way? Of course he will, come on. Who the hell wouldn't? Like I said, plausible deniability, not bullshit deniability. I mean, this ain't some O.J. Simpson crap where they got like truckloads full of evidence. So would somebody pull off this bold of a cheat with this many people watching at this high profile of a tournament while knowingly being on camera? I'd like to say no, because that's incredibly stupid. And honestly, as good of a player as I am, I think I would probably make this mistake. But that's just the problem with constantly cheating and constantly getting disqualified, then being let back into the game. Anytime you do anything that, by sheer coincidence, benefits you a turn later, people are going to think you're cheating. So actually, I'm changing my final verdict. My final verdict on this of if he was cheating or if it was an accident is, who cares? He should have gotten a lifetime ban a long time ago for purposely presenting an illegal deck. He is well known in the community as a long-time shady cheater. I say give him a lifetime ban. But without evidence or intent, they won't. Worst he's going to get is some kind of warning, some notes in his record, or maybe a 6-month ban tops. I think it'll be judged a play error, and even if they would have caught it a couple rounds later or turns later, it would have been like a game loss or a warning, and that's it. So will they turn it into a 6-month ban? Probably not. But based on his history, maybe it's a long shot. So basically, we're probably going to see him at future tournaments. The real disgrace of this is that he's in the Mythic League or whatever. I don't know if he was an invite or somebody who pretended to earn it or whatever, but I don't even know how people qualified for this. I really don't. I am just pretty sure that not all of them did, unless that's only the arena one. I don't know, but regardless, they have already kicked somebody out and uninvited them to one of these Mythic Championships because of some shady play. I mean, it just happened like 2 months ago. So given that high-profile thing, which what he did would not normally be meriting a ban, by the way, either, will they kick him out? Will they ban him from just these tournaments? I think maybe, because they're trying to clean up the image of this, and to say this has a couple views would be an understatement, and well, look how many views this one has. Oh, that's right, once Desolator Magic covers it, it's basically over for you. So anyway, what do you guys think about this? You got any more of your favorite Carvalho stories? Leave them down below. And stay away from Pro Magic. It's all cheaters. I'll see you guys next video.